Yo, what is up guys? I'm Hesam here. In this tutorial I'm gonna show you how you can create a very simple chat using Qt. And in this tutorial I'm gonna show you how you can do it using Qt Quick apps. So basically we want to create two separate applications, which first of them is for our server. I name it QTcpServer, and we use CMake for our project, and here I have Qt 5.15.2 and I choose that. You can choose to using Git, that's not matter for now. And here you can see that app which we can run here, and this is our hello world. Okay, so for our UI we want a simple page to show our messages, and on the bottom of our page we want to have some kind of text box to give message from user and send it back to other clients. So I want to choose a name for this server app, for example. Here we need a column layout, so I want to import Qt Quick layouts. Okay, so we can create our column layouts here, and inside that I want to show our messages to the user. So we need a list view, and before that let's make sure that we fill our column layout. So here we want to show our messages, so let's keep going, and after that I create a row layout, sorry. So here basically we need a text edit and button here for our send button, but let's import Qt Quick controls first because we need that. And I think this must be text field. Yes, basically text field will show some borders around it so we can see it better. And for our placeholder, for example, you can use your message, and this will fill the width of our row layout. So let me indent it a bit. So this will fill the width in our row layouts, and our button is a simple send button. So when I click inside, when I press the enter button inside the text field, I want to trigger this button. So let's assign an ID, button send, for example, and I will click when this text field is activated and press and the user press enter, so we can trigger our click. So basically when we click this button we want to send our message, but for now we need to see if it works. Our list view, we should in our list view we should fill the height and width. So basically it will keep the rest of the area of the window. And we need some kind of instruction to show our message to our user. So I choose to use a simple list model here. Our list model will contain our messages, which every item in this model will be a simple list element that has a message on it. For example, if there is a high message, it means we have one element in our model that should show in the page. And for showing these models I need some delegate. So I choose a simple I choose a simple item delegate to show our items in our model. And for its text, I simply write message, which will show this message over here. And it's good to have our clip property here. Basically it will tell Qt Quick to hide the overflow of the list if items are passed from our list view. And let's create some scroll bars for our list view, so we can scroll it, and everything looks perfect. Now let's create some curly braces here, and for now I will just clear this text field over here. Let's name text field message. I just want to clear this, so when user clicks the send button, we like this message and remove the contents on the text field. Now let's run our simple application and see how it goes. Okay, looks perfect and simple. Now let's create our structure for our server. Here we need a simple server file so our clients could connect to our app. But before that, we need to enable the network module in the Qt. So because I use CMake here, I need to add the network module here and here as well. Good. And now let's add our simple class for our TCP server. We need to instantiate our QObject class as a parent, and let's add our class files here. Perfect. Okay, here we have a simple TCP server class. We would use the QTcpServer class here, so let's include it. And we want to store our clients in this class, so we will be able to later send messages to them. Our clients will be saved here as a QTcpSocket classes, so I need to include that. Basically this QTcpSocket class is for our client, and this QTcpServer class is for our server. And let's create a member class of our server in this private members here, and let's create a container for our clients. So we will assign a key to our clients and save a reference to them here. So I use a QHash and I should include it here as well. Good. And let's name it clients. Good. And now let's back to our implementation here. Basically, when we create this object, we want to start listening on our custom port. So I will start listening here and call the listen address here. I choose qhost address any to use any IP address. Basically this will something like some IP address like this, so it will listen on any possible IP on our network. And for the port I choose the 45,000 port here, and if that succeeded, simply I will show a message here listening, so we can get notified that our server is successfully connected to the port. Now we need to get notified when new clients are connected and when new clients are disconnected. So basically we should use Qt signal and slot mechanism for this matter. Okay, so let's choose some signals here to connect to. First, let's catch some connections here. QTcpServer, new connection. Okay, this signal will be emitted when new clients want to connect to our server. So we will handle it here in our TCP server. Our slot will be on new connection. I will create this slot in a second. Here I will create a new section for our new connections. Okay, now let's create our slot here. Basically, when we reach this slot here, we have a new client which want to connect to our server. So I will choose to get it and store a reference of it to our class, so we will be able to later send it our messages. Okay, so let's name it client here. Oops. And there is a method in our server class which is next pending connection. Use this method, we can get the next client that is waiting to connect to our server. And a simple safety check here to see if if our client is not non-PTR, we can continue as usual. And let's print some useful messages here. New client connected. Okay, so basically we can new client wants to connect to our server, and we can add this new client to our client hash map. But we need some mechanism to identify our clients, so we can identify which one is sending messages. For this matter, I choose to somehow merge the peer IP and peer port of the client. There is a peer address and peer port here, which these address and ports are for the connecting client to our server. So with combining these two, we can identify our clients. So I need to put these on the separate method to access it later on. So let's create another private section and add a new method for our client key and name it getClientKey. Here we want to pass our QTcpSocket pointer, so we can get the peer IP and peer ports from this pointer here, and we need to return peer address and convert it to a string, and let's append some column to it, and then append our client peer port as a simple number to this. So basically here we have some kind of IP address of our client, followed by a column and then the client's port. And let's add another parenthesis here. Okay, so now I can use this method here and get the client key here and save the pointer to the object of client to our client's hash map, so we can later use this hash map to access our clients. Okay, that's cool. Now let's handle when our clients are disconnected and when they are sending message what's happened. So we can simply access the signals of our client object and handle them to use our slots. There is a signal here in this QTcpSocket, which is ready read. Basically this ready read will be emitted when our client sends some message to us and we are ready to read it all. So I can use this signal to read the messages when the clients are sending us messages. And as always, I need to create a slot for this in our class. Let's name it on ready read. Okay, I need to create this slot as well. Okay, now here we don't have access to the data here. If you navigate to the signal, you can see there is a simple signal only, but we want to access the data that the client sent us. So there is a special method in QObject, which is the parent of our class, which you can see here. There is a special method here which is sender method. Basically this sender method returns the object that emitted this signal over here. So we can use this to get our pointer to the client object and use it to read the messages from that. So let's create a variable called clients, and we need to cast this using QObject_cast to the QTcpSocket pointer, and like that. Here we can again check for null references to avoid any potential issues, and if everything is cool, here we can use our client object to read the messages from that. So let's create a variable called messages, and we can use the read-all method from our client. And this read-all method will return a Q byte array, which we can use to send it to other clients, and we can convert it to string to be used in our app as well. But it will be beautiful if we can append the key of the client here, so other users can identify the client. So if I pass this here, and let's add a colon here, basically this will view the key of the client and then appends a colon here and shows the actual message of the client over here. Now we need to handle this message. One thing I want to do is to send this message to other clients, and another thing is to show it in our user interface. So I decided to emit a new signal here, and let's call it a new message and pass our byte array to it. So we need this new message here. Let's create it in our signals, and this will be a Q byte array. Okay, so when this new message is emitted, we need to handle that to send message to other clients. Let's handle it over here. Oops, sorry. And we can connect to this signal over here. TCP server, our signal, and our slot will be on new message as well. Okay, looks cool. Let's create our slot for it, and we need to pass our byte array here. Okay, now let's create our slot over here and send our message to other clients. But let me fix this issue. Here I have message, but instead here I wrote messages, which is wrong now. That's cool if we wrote it correctly. We need to use it as a byte array. So this read-all will return a byte array, but this getClientKey is returning a Q string. So we can convert it to UTF-8, so it will be returning a byte array as well, and the message would be a byte array. Okay, now let's get back to our business here. Let's create a loop and loop through all clients and send them the message. So we can get a reference to our clients class member here. As you can see, in new versions of Qt, there is a new warning here that has autocorrect that will change this to Q as const and convert this to a const value. So we can use this, and simply we can write our byte array to the client and flash it to make sure that our buffer is written to the client. Looks good. Now one thing that we may occur here is when a client is disconnected, we need to remove that client from our hash map. So we can connect to the relevant signal in our client and remove that client from our hash map here. So let's create a dedicated signal for it. I name it undisconnected. Now let's handle it here. Okay, so as we do here, we need to cast our sender to QTcpSocket pointer, and now we can remove our client from the hash map over here. Oops, sorry, we need the client key. Sorry about that. Get client key, and now we can remove our client from our hash map. Now this partially works because as you can see here, we will listen on the port, and partially we are handling the connections of the clients, but we are not connected it to the UI yet, which we now are going to do it now. So for that to happen, we need to come here and create a connection to our TCP server object, which we created here, and use this connection to get messages and show this message in our list model. But we need our TCP object to be created first. So let's include it here, and here I can create a TCP server object. When I create this object here, it will automatically call the constructor, and our server will be started. So we need to set this object as a context property to our engine, so we are able to use it later in our QML file. For that to happen, we need to include QQML context, QML context, if I'm correct, and we can set this object to our root context using the set context property, and we can name it server and pass a reference to our TCP server. So basically this server is the name of our object in the QML file. So we can create a connections which targets is our server object. You can see these terms purple that indicates QML found the context property. And now simply we can connect to this signal over here and use our byte array message here. For that to happen, we need a function which starts with on and the name of the signal over there. Now we can get our message here. Simply we can get this message and append this to this list element over here. To do that, we need to assign an ID here. Let's name it list model messages, and let's change this to welcome to server, and we can append our message here, and this will be like a simple list element here. So we can pass a message here which is our message, but you can see this is both of these are messages. Let's change it to BA, that means byte array, and now our byte array will be passed here, but here we need a string. We can't use byte array here. We can simply convert this byte array to a string with appended with empty string value here. Now if our clients will be connected here, we can see their messages here. Let's test it and see how it's going. We can test this using our terminal with a tool called NC, which basically creates a connection. Now you can see when I press enter, here says new client connected, and if I send some messages, you can see it appears here, and you can send as much as messages that you want, but for now we can't answer to these messages. We need to somehow send the value of this text field to the clients, which we will now do right now. Okay, so to do that, we can create a public signal here, public slots here to send the message from the UI using this public slot. Let's name it send message and get the message of user here. Now add the definition here, and here simply we can emit our new message signal here with the message converted to UTF-8 characters. So basically when we emit our signal, it will send our message to all of the clients, and using these slots over here, it will also show our message to ourselves. So let's remove this line and we need this server, and send message is the name of our slot, and we can pass the text of our message. Now let's run our application and see what happening. Okay, let's say hi here, and you can see here we get our message, and here we will get our message, and server also can save some messages. Okay, it will be great if we append something here. Let's do that now. For example, here we can add server, so our message will be prepended like that. Good. Now we created our server application. We can create another application for our clients. Let's name it Qt Chat Client and choose the 5.15 for that, and add it to Git. Okay, let's name it client app. Oops, sorry. And here for our client app, we will have some UI components that are like our column layout here, so we can copy and paste these components over here, and let's include our imports, and we will need this connection as well, so let's copy it here, and we need to modify some items here. First, we won't have a server here, we will have a client property here, which we are not creating yet, but we will create later. And here in our list view we can say welcome to client, and here I will copy this row layout if I can. Okay, here I can paste this, and I will create a text box for our server IP and another for our server port, and we will get the server IP and port from our user. So let's change the name to text field IP and text field port, and this will be button connect. Here we should write the code for the connection, and let's update these values, and looks cool. And here everything looks cool, and we need to change this to client, so later we will have a client that has a send message method on it. Now let's create another class here for our client, and let's name it TCP client, which will also include Q object, and its parent is Q object. Okay, looks good. And now we need to add our files here, and also we need to add the network module of Qt here and here. Okay, looks cool. Here you can see we have our class. Let's define it. This will be easier than our server, because here we are only sending messages to our server. We need here our QTcpSocket because we want to keep our connection to the server here as a QTcpSocket object, and let's name it client, or let's name it socket. Okay, let's get back to our implementation here. We want to connect to our server using this class, so we need some kind of method over here to be called throughout our connect button here. When I press this button, I want to connect to our server. So let's create a public slot here, public slots, and name it connect to host. Something that is important here is don't use the word connect here, because connect is a method in the QObject class, and this will break down your signals. So use another name than the connect to overcome this issue. And let's get the IP address here and the port number. Cool. And now we can add the definition here, and simply we can use the connect to host method of the socket with this IP address and port number, but we need to cast the port number to unsigned it to be able to connect to host. As you can see, this connect to host is a void function, and it will not return us any results, so we can't really here we can't really understand that our connection to host was successful or not, but we can use signals and slots here to determine the status of connection. if our connection to the server was successful, a signal called connected will be emitted, and otherwise we will get a signal called error occurred. So let's connect to our signal over here, QTcpSocket. There is a connected signal here, which I will connect to our slot here, TCP client on connected, which I will create right now in the private slots section here. And here simply a QInfo will be sufficient. And now we can create another connection to the error occurred signal and name it on error occurred. And now I will create that, but let's get back here. If you navigate to this signal, you can see there will be a parameter which contains the error that occurred. So let's pass it here and name it error. And now we can show the error here. Now that looks cool. And one thing we need to add here is for when the server send us some data, this will emit their ready read signal over here, so we can use this to read the data that server send us. So let's add another slot for it and add it back here. And now I can see the message that server is sent to us using the read all method here. Like the server implementation, we can emit a signal here called new message and pass our message to it. So let's add our signal here, new message, and qbyte array. So now that we have this signal over here, we can connect to this signal here in our connections and read the message here and add it to our list. But let's add our class here to add it to our context. And we can include TCP client and include QML context. Looks good. TCP client, and let's add it to our engine context. Set context property and oops, sorry, client. Okay, so we have access to our client, and we need here to add client.connect to host, and let's pass our IP and port to this client object. We can do it on one line. Okay, so this will connect to our server, and when we connected we can send our messages that you can see here. We can get data and send our message. Okay, let's test this, and I will run this server app over here. Okay, so you can see here we have our server, and let's connect to our server 45. Okay, you can see here it says new client connected. This is for our server, and if I say hi, oops, something went wrong. Oops, yeah, sorry about that. We need to create our send message here. I forgot that. Yes, we have to create a method or a public slot for our message, and pass the message here. So now we can write to our socket here to UTF-8 and flush it, so that our buffer will be emptied. Okay, so let's try again. This is our server app, and this is our client app. Okay, connected to host. This output here is for our client, and let's say hi. Yeah, you can here see our message from server, and let's say hello. Yeah, you can see that these are connected to each other. Let's run another instance of our client and see what happens here if we have multiple instances running. Okay, as you can see here, this peer port is different for each client, so every client will have a different key, and they can send message to each other. And also we can use netcat here. As you can see, all clients and the server can handle these messages, and also netcat can get the messages from servers and the clients. That looks cool. I will put these projects on my GitHub account, so make sure to check out my GitHub account and see the full source code of our projects over there. I will provide a link in the descriptions, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel and smash that like button. I will see you in the next one. Peace out.